or rather good afternoon, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ismail Serageldin, and I'm the director of the Library of Alexandria and also the co-chair of the Nizami Ganjavi International Center. I'm honored to invite you all to this joint program designed by the NGIC and the Library of Alexandria. And at this opening session, we're starting a little bit late, but hopefully we will make up in quality what we have had in terms of slight delays. Our topic is about democratic security in a time of extremism and violence. It is clear that the times we live in are very difficult times, and where the biggest challenge that faces every society is the capacity to find an appropriate balance between how to protect the security of their citizens by preventing acts of terrorism against them, which requires, obviously, an expansion of police powers, sometimes interventions of military forces, above all, changes in attitudes and thinking and prevalent narrative in society, on the one hand, and on the other side, we also have to protect the values and the liberties of citizens. To strike that right balance is a very difficult challenge. And in a sense, when somebody asked me, why don't you have a group of technical experts? I said there are no greater technical experts than all of you in this audience, the expert people who have been elected to office, who have served valiantly, and who retain the respect and admiration of your fellow citizens. Because the balance question between how to guarantee the liberties of people and at the same time how to protect against terrorism is largely a matter of political judgment that will change from country to country. And we could not have a more august group of people to present this material and to discuss this material than yourselves. And hopefully, out of these discussions, we will be getting something that we will be able to summarize towards the end of our 2.5 days. You have a program in front of you. The program says updated the 14th of January 2017. We were supposed to start this morning and then take a break and then come back. I'm very happy to report that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Egypt, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, met with our honorable visiting presidents, prime ministers, and deputy prime ministers, and that he was kind enough to not only give us his support, but to reaffirm the importance that he attaches to what we are doing here today. And so in this introductory section, I am very honored that we have with us President George Ivanov, the President of Macedonia, or Macedonia, as we would say. And I have had the privilege of visiting with President Ivanov and of hearing his wisdom firsthand and spending time with him in Macedonia with the young leaders that he is nurturing. And so without further ado, let me turn the microphone to hear from President Ivanov a few words to launch us on our way. Your Excellency.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies. I will speak Macedonian language. Почитувани присутни, како председател на Република Македонија, чест ми е да се обратам на овој престижен форум организиран од Библиотеката Александрина и Меѓународниот центар Низами Ганџави. Деновиве тука во Египет, во една од вулките на античката цивилизација, имаме можност да зборуваме за предизвиците со кои се соочува нашата современа цивилизација. Зборувајќи за демократската безбедност во време на екстремизам и насилство во втората деценија на 21. век, ние само ја потврдуваме мислата на еден голем филозоф дека единствено нешто што го научивме од историјата е дека ништо не научивме од историјата. Дами и господа, Човештвото е во најдобра состојба тогаш кога има најголем степен на слобода. Има кажано алиегери. Но слободата има и бројни непријатели. Целта на тираните од секојаш била да ја ограничат слободата на најмалиот можен простор, а тоа е просторот меѓу нашите две уши, држејќи ги притоа нашите усти затворени. Од тука, целата историја на човековата борба за слобода е исполната со судир меѓу страста на идеалите и моќта на интересите, меѓу врвните принципи и тесните политики. Денес, кога ја ситниме втората деценија од третиот милениум, ние се соочуваме со една стара дилема за односот меѓу слободата и безбедноста. Но не постои толку стара тема за која не може да се каже нешто ново. Потоварот од една страна на оние кои се залагаат за што поголема слобода и од друга страна оние кои сакаат што поголем авторитет, тешко е да се помине низ нивните аргументи неповреден, има кажано Хопс. Со тоа, тој ја изложи својата дилема. Ако сакаш безбедност, тогаш се откажуваш од слободата. Ако пак сакаш слобода, тогаш се откажуваш од безбедност. Многу умови се бореле со оваа дилема и се обидувале да утврдат што е поважно, слободата или безбедноста. Дали може да има слобода без да се има безбедност? Дали слободата е цената што треба да се плати за да живееме безбедно? Во 19-тиот и 20-тиот век решение на ова квадратура на кругот многумина ја бара во либералната демократија како систем што може да воспостави баланс меѓу слободата и безбедноста. За време на студената војна, ограничената и контролирана влада на западните либерални демократии требаше да понуди алтернатива за неограничената и тотална власт на источните народни демократии. Со тоа во зенитот на политичката и на јавната дебата на голема врата влезе парадигмата за демократијата, човековите права и слободи. Но оваа парадигма, што победи во 1989 година, издржа едва една цела деценија. Токму тогаш, кога многумина верува дека Хопсовата дилема е успешно разрешена, 21 век не врати во суровата реалност. Дами и господа, денес силни обштествени, политички, безбедносни и технолошки процеси работат против слободата. Во свет во кој силните прават она што сакаат, а слабите она што мораат, владењето на правото е сведено на исклучок наместо на правило. Наместо меѓународна безбедност и поредок, имаме отсуство на безбедност и непоредок. Наместо почитување на различноста, се почесто сме сведоци на прогонување и уништување на различноста. Од почетокот на овој милениум, ние сме во отворена борба со глобалниот тероризам. На овој план се соочуваме со сериозен предизвик. За секоја терористичка група и организација што е уништена, како да се јавуваат две нови. Од недржавен ИСИС прерасна во квазидржавен актер, способен да ги абсорбира поразите, да се повлече, да регрутира и повторно да нападне и далеко од територијата што непосредно ја контролира. Во услови на зголемени закани за кои меѓународните организации не може да понудат решение, интернационализмот се повлекува пред растечкиот национализам. Екстремните закани барат екстремни мерки. Безбедноста како да стана поважно од човековите права и слободи, кои стана прва жртва на стравот на државите и нивните граѓани. Или како што вели Костас Дудзинас, оптимистичката ера на глобализираната надеж се претвори во мрачна ера на стравот. Гледаме како новиот поредок се раѓа од две крајности. Од една страна се желбите за траен мир, а од друга страна заканите од постојани војни. Борејќи се против тероризмот и екстремизмот, современата држава ги проширува своите овластувања и надлежности и со тоа го стеснува просторот на човековите права и слободи. По секој терористички напад, државите прогласуваат вонредни или кризни состојби. Знаеме дека вонредната или кризната состојба е состојба на екстремна загрозеност, опасност за постоењето на државата. Суверениот одлучува дали постои екстремна вонредна состојба, како и за тоа што мора да се стори за да биде надмината таквата состојба. Но која е мерката? Република Македонија беше првата држава во Европа што прогласи кризна состојба за заканата од илегалната миграција и распореди армијата на границата. Но ние никогаш не ја употребивме кризната состојба за проширување на ингеренциите на државата и за ограничување на човековите права, вклучително и правата на мигрантите. Сепак денес нашите држава и општества се соочуваат со нов сериозен предизвик. Вонредната или кризната состојба е исклучок во кој се суспендираат дел од правата и слободите со цел да се зачува поредокот без кој се неможни ниту правата, ниту слободите. Но во услови на перманентна опасност, кризатната состојба од исклучок станува правило, а граѓанските права и слободи од правило се сведуваат на исклучок. Ако кризата е исклучок од нормалноста, перманентната кризна состојба значи дека кризата станала нова нормалност. Целиот систем е превртен. Соочени со ова состојба, некои дури поставуваат нова дилема. Што е поголема закана? Дали непредвидливите екстремисти и терористи кои уништуваат човечки животи или пак моќните влади кои го знаат секој сегмент од приватниот живот на граѓаните? Во вакви услови се чини дека демократијата се помалку може да понуди безбедност и сигурност. Ни светот демократските општества се во криза. Насекаде во светот владее недоверба во државата, која се повеќе се бирократизира без да нуди одржливи решенија за кризите и за предизвиците. Еден автор забележал дека на дол крок западните демократии без исклучок се движат во насока на се поголема моќ на власта, се поголема зависност од државата и се поголема јавна потрошувачка и задолжување. Глобализацијата само го мултиплицираше овој ефект. Во својот неодамнешен извештај за глобалните трендови, Американскиот национален совет за разузнавање оценува дека глобализацијата и технолошкиот напредок ги избогатија најбогатите и издигнаа 1 милиарда од луѓето од сиромаштија, но истовремено ја истиснаа средната класа и со тоа создадоа отпор против глобализацијата. Во тој контекст сведоци сме на револтот на луѓето кон наметнатата глобалистичка парадигма на елитите. Граѓаните сакаат да си ја вратат слободата, бидејќи безбедноста и онака не ја добија. А кога државата не може на граѓаните да им ја гарантира безбедноста, за која тие се одрекле дури од дел од својата слобода, тогаш граѓаните се само организираат за да ја постигнат безбедноста. Не сакам да бидам погрешно разбран. Черчил рече дека демократијата не е совршена, но е најдоброто нешто што сме го имале досега. Проблемот не лежи во демократскиот идеал, туку во системот што се бирократизира и не нуди решенија. Затоа потребен е нов модус што ќе овозможи и одржување на безбедноста и почитување на човековите права и слободи. Навидум изгледа како невозможна мисија, но само затоа што нештата ги гледаме низ призмата на старата парадигма. Потребни се други книги и други автори. Потребно е редефинирање на концептите. Прво, во борбата против тероризмот треба да разбереме дека ние не си имаме работа со организација, туку со движење придвижено од идеја што надминува етнички, јазични и културни разлики. За да победиме во борбата против тероризмот, не се доволни воени трупи и технологија, неопходно е борбата да ја водиме и со идеи. Убиството и теророт не се резултат на религијата, туку на погрешното толкување на религијата, на неморалноста на поединците со стврднати срца, арогантни души и искривена логика. На радикализацијата да се спротиставиме со програми за контрарадикализација. Второ, се зборува за човекови права и слободи, а се запоставува едно од основните права – правото на слобода на мисла, совест и вера. Прогонувањето на луѓе со различна вера и уверување е се поизразено, не само во несекуларни, туку и во развиени и секуларни општества. Неопходно е да се гарантира слободата во вистинската смисла на зборот. Луѓето треба да сватат дека слободата што ја посакуваат за себе, треба да им ја дозволат и на другите и дека нивната слобода нема да биде трајна се додека и другите не уживаат истата слобода. Трето, надминување на двојните стандарди. Кој одлучува за тоа што е вест и што ќе биде на насловните страници? Сведоци сме на селективен пристап. Во светлото на медиумските експлоатираните терористички напади во Европа, Дали некој воопшто ги брои жртвите на муслиманите во Афганистан, Ирак, Либија, Сирија? Дали некој застанува да се запраша колку муслимански мажи, жени и деца се убиени последниве години на Блискиот Исток во Северна Африка? Но истовремено знаеме за статистика кои исто така се целосно игнорирани од мејнстрим медиумите. Од 2005 до 2015 година, за само 10 години, 900.000 христијани биле маченички убиени поради нивната вера. Во просек тоа се 90.000 христијани годишно. Јас досега не чув некој од глобалните медиуми да ја адресираат ова тема. Четврто, економски праведен систем. Јазот меѓу богатиот глобален север и сиромашниот глобален југ се продлабочува. Од 7 милиарди жители, само 1 милиарда живее удобно. 767 милиони луѓе живеат во екстремна сиромаштија. Не е ни чудо што милиони економски мигранти, кои немаат надеж за социјална мобилност во нивните родни држави, сакаат да дојдат во Европа. Затоа неопходно е одржив и инклузивен поредок, чија цел не е само економскиот, туку и социјалниот и еколошкиот аспект на развојот. На крајот, верувам дека примената на овие идеи може да ни помогне да излеземе од стапицата во која се вплеткаме читајки погрешни автори. А со тоа ќе овозможиме државите да се борат со тероризмот и со екстремизмот на начин што е конзистентен со правата и со слободите на граѓаните. Благодарам.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now allow me to turn to another great and august visitor, President Olusegun Obasanjo of Nigeria, who by almost any measure qualifies as the wise man of Africa. And Mr. Obasanjo has been twice president of Nigeria and has in fact also generated many civil society movements, and I have been privileged to serve with him in some of these initiatives that he undertook in the past, and I therefore welcome him to Egypt as an old friend of Egypt, as a leader of Africa, and as a great humanist. President Obasanjo.
Your Excellencies, Ismail, let me thank you very much for making me part of this very important meeting. There are two words that are very important in the theme of our discussion for the next 2 days. The theme, democratic security in a time of extremism and violence. And these two words or two issues in the theme are so closely related that we cannot talk of one without talking about the other. And these two are democracy and all that go with democracy and security. Democracy, of course, enhances security, and security in all its ramifications, not only in terms of physical security or lack of violent or terrorist act, strengthens democracy. In other words, if we intend that democracy should be sustained, should thrive, and should grow, there must be security. And if we intend that there must be security, democracy must be allowed to do its part, which is to give every citizen its rightful desert within the society. And two of them together are essential ingredients for development, well-being, and progress of societies and communities. The ingredients to ensure security are so basic and yet so often overlooked that where there is insecurity, we tend to pay attention to the symptoms rather than the root cause. We repress, we limit liberty and freedom. And if we get any solace at all, it is only temporary. If we have to deal with it, we must go to the root. No human being is born as a bundle of acts of extremism or violence, but they are acquired through nurture and from the environment that breeds them. And if we have to deal, therefore, with the symptom, we have to go down to what creates in the minds of the people, the acts that they undertake, which of course make life unpleasant and unbearable for themselves, because the terrorist also suffered from his own act of terrorism. Yes, lots of more democratic societies value liberty, all forms of freedom and fundamental rights for their citizens. But the fundamental underpinnings for security that will sustain democracy, such as justice, equity, equality, popular participation, citizen development, education, economic and social well-being, are trampled upon and denied to citizens in part or in full. Quality education is vital for human development, but education alone is not enough to prevent the act of terrorism or violent extremism. While there's no simple correlation between educational achievement or violent extremism, education that does not lead to employment, enterprise, and human well-being creates resentment that can be exploited by extremists. Education must give fulfillment as a critical instrument of empowerment. Why then do we have to complain when the seeds of violence, extremism, discontent, or dissatisfaction have been sown such that they bring forth the obvious fruit in reaction that are incubated in the mind? So the criminal acts by citizens, individually or collectively, emanate from their thoughts. And here, let me quote from the preamble to the Constitution of UNESCO to buttress my point. And I quote, "Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed." We may also say that if terrorist acts begin in the minds of men and women, it is in their minds that we must start to construct and prevent the act. If that is the case, we must pay more attention to the mind from where the act is generated and incubated. I will urge that we deliberate on this theme over the next 2 days, that our emphasis should be on the disease rather than on the symptom. I see in almost all societies that acts of terrorism, violence, and extremism do not just spring up overnight. The satisfactions born out of injustice, marginalization, and inequity portend danger and do simmer for quite some time, and if left unattended, also for some time, they burst out in acts of violence, insurgency, and terrorism. I believe that all societies must have watchdogs for issues within the society and the community that will develop into discontent, dissatisfaction, disaffection, which may snowball into violence, insurgency, and terrorism. These unwholesome actions divide societies, undermine political transition and progress, hinder economic growth, and create instability and fear. Violent extremism poses a threat to all societies and poses danger to more people, more livelihoods, more futures than ever before. Yet again, it seems clear that the horrific violence that is perpetrated by extremists is symptomatic of deeper problems that need to be fought in smarter and more comprehensive ways than had hitherto been the case. As we are here today, we should take stock and chart a new way forward and put on a new pair of glasses to see the tree from the forest and deal with the seedlings of injustice and marginalization before they grow into big trees. Political leaders themselves must be the head of such watchdogs. It is not only to watch, but also to take appropriate remedial measures to stem the tide. Such measures are more cost-effective when taken preventively than measures to fight a full-blown dissatisfaction that has matured into violence and destructive conflict. And in all our societies or communities, these issues lock in different corners. And if we do not give them attention, give them the attention they deserve or require, they are bound to engender discontent and violent extremism. Political leaders must commit to national and regional dialogue and cooperation as the principal means to address potent discontent and marginalization. They must recognize that the enemy of their enemy is not always their friend, and that the long-term consequences of short-sighted politics may come back to haunt them. This is true for both regional and international interventions. We must go beyond national through to international arena. Injustice, marginalization, inequity, and unfairness lurk in different areas of international world and international action, which tend to evoke unfavorable reaction or persistence of injustice, which leads to persistence of such unfavorable reaction. A fair society where there is attention given to complaints, where there is fair hearing, sharing, and caring, is likely to be more democratic, more secure, more progressive, more stable, and more cohesive. And what applies to a society and a community at the local or national level applies at the macro international level. Governments and international organizations such as the United Nations must do everything in their power to break the political and institutional deadlocks that prevent conflicts from being resolved. In an interconnected world, governments need to prioritize conflict prevention, resolution, and capacity building, even when those conflicts appear distant or dormant. Terrorists are not born, terrorists are made. And the way to fight terrorism is to make the victims of injustice who become terrorists. We should make them beneficiaries of justice, equity, and fairness. If some want peace and security at the expense of the rights of others, we must expect those whose rights are sacrificed to fight back. And they are fighting back, they cause more harm, and blindly too, at times. Human beings want to feel a sense of freedom and fulfillment, participating in managing their own affairs, and a sense of worth and dignity. The so-called Arab Spring is an object lesson. Other countries and regions that had high population figures, mixed with high unemployment, particularly among young and educated people, must pay heed and watch out to take precautionary measures in terms of creating jobs in millions to satisfy the yearning appetites and the high expectation of the youth. This is the situation we have in many countries of Africa today. The youth in every country that has endured and or managed change have always been part of the critical mass that took on repressive systems and or structures which appeared out of sync with the aspiration of people. A key lesson from this is that the objective of economic policy should shift from rapid growth to inclusive growth and social justice. There is need to develop more inclusive and accountable economic institutions, create more opportunities for youth through reform of the framework for private sector development and the modernization of the education system, support the development of lagging regions and rural areas, and empower women. Important areas for policy action to achieve inclusive growth and also to prevent violent extremism. At this point, there's also the need to separate hard organized criminality engendered by drug trafficking and money laundering from violence and extremism occasioned by injustice. Over the past 5 years, there has been growing apprehension about the potential disruptive and destabilizing impact of drug trafficking in Africa, and in particular, its potential to propel violence. This apprehension has been intensified by the alleged links between drug traffickers and extremist groups operating in the region. The region should take steps to avoid the militarization of drug policy and counter-trafficking measures. The latter will only serve to increase the political leverage and popular appeal of groups that smuggle drugs, and as has occurred elsewhere, potentially lead to violence. Faith with economic, political, and cultural aspects of the lives of all human beings must be taken care of to make them feel that life is worth living. And if this can be done, we are likely to have a democratic and secure world with less extremism, violence, and more cooperation, understanding, stability, and cohesion. That is the world that we must all wish and work for. The world of peace, security, freedom, and liberty. The world that will shape everybody into being his brother or sister keeper. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, President Obasanjo. Thank you for this very thoughtful address. Now, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, this particular event is co-sponsored by the Nizami Ganjavi International Center and by the Library of Alexandria. And as I said earlier, we were very honored to have the support and blessing of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Egypt, this morning when he met many members of this group. So let me turn right now to His Excellency, President Boris Tadic, who will say a few words on behalf of the Nizami Ganjavi International Center and how this topic may fit into our concerns at the Nizami Center. President Tadic, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ismail. Thank you, Chairman. I'm really glad to have opportunity to talk on this conference and to make some speech on behalf of the members of Nizami Ganjavi International Center. We are an association of the people, former chief of states and intellectuals that are working together on better understanding between the cultures, states, and other participants in our common civilization. And this forum is having a very important mission regarding current world and the challenges we are facing with. This is how to protect democratic security in the time of extremism and violence. Extremism, specifically religious extremism and violence, is characterizing the current world and our common globe. But today we have to understand and to ask ourselves what was the trigger for problems and challenges we are facing today. Sometimes in the history we cannot recognize that some events that are occurring are in fact triggers for some other events that are coming a few decades after what happened. In that respect, being more efficient and more capable to understand and to react and to find useful answers on challenges we are facing today, we have to understand what was the cause for problems that are affecting very much the current world. What happened a few years ago? What happened 1 decade ago? How democracy was brought to such difficult challenges today? What about human rights? What about different cultures and identities? Very often on such forums, I'm underlining a few books that are characterizing the modern world and that are defining specifically way of thinking among the big powers, especially institutions that are belonging to the big powers. The books that are trying to be paramount shift in creating new orders of the modern world. For example, book of Clash of Civilization, Mr. Huntington, Fukuyama book about the end of the history, and some other books that are created by philosophers and political thinkers. But Unfortunately, today we don't have real answers on challenges we are facing in terms of the boost of extremism, the boost of violence, lack of understanding between civilization, religious, and the different states. I think that this kind of forum has a duty, has a mission to understand and to underline what was the cause of problems we are facing today. I'm really very proud because Nizami Ganjavi Center is a co-organizer of this forum, because we are committing ourselves to work on that phenomena, on that problems for many, many years, and we are going to continue that efforts even today, even in the future. But having opportunity to underline, from my point of view, very important facts that are bringing all of us in such a difficult situation, I will point out a few sentences about the causes of the problems of our common world nowadays. This is lack of understanding of different cultures, different identities. This is arrogancy, which is showed from the podium of the big states and the interlocutors in the global politics. And this is a kind of instruments that are usually used in trying to solve problems in the past few decades. This is, first of all, military instrument that has been always used in such a conflict and a difficult situation, which is not functioning anymore. This is not functioning because the interlocutors and the participants in this global conflict are not understanding that this is not useful instrument because of problems we are facing with. Problem is lying in the fact of a lack of understanding different cultures and different religions. We have to do everything that is possible to avoid a clash of civilization. If clash of civilization is going to be a reality in the end of this process, will be an unsustainable situation as a people that are belonging to our common civilization, that are in charge to find solution for the future of the young generation. In that respect, the politics, which is inevitable as a phenomena, has to be enriched and has to be treated by intellectuals and people with experience by bringing to that phenomena, to that field, new instruments and new philosophy in the current situation. The problem is specifically even worse because the processes in the politics, in the global politics, are not very helpful right now. We have too many populists on the power. We have a very dangerous trends in the global politics. We have a very dangerous trends and aspirations among the global leaders. And today, nobody knows what is going to be with our common globe in the next few years. We would like to live in predictable world, but what is only predictable today that we are going to live in totally unpredictable world. And in that respect, the politics has a duty to understand, to show the way, to have a better view and a wider perspective regarding future of our common civilization. We have to understand that problems are very difficult. Problems are coming from the past. Problems are coming from the fact that politics today is not capable to solve challenges, and we have to understand that such a forums are the way, very important way, and the possible way to bring new ideas how to solve such problems and such challenges. Nizami Ganjavi International Center is going to work even in the future on this mission. And I want to thank once again Egypt and the Egyptian president because of hospitality. This is very important to all of us, but also I would like to thank Ismail Serageldin for his commitment to Bibliotheca Alexandrina and to Nizami Ganjavi Center, and specifically for his own commitment to these problems and his way of understanding. And this is my duty to say this, and I would like to underline once again that I'm really proud to sit next to him in such very important institutions, because his vision and his commitment to such very important initiatives is really very, very important. This is what I would like to say on the beginning of this conference.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. President Boris Tadic speaking on behalf of NGIC, and where I have the privilege of being with you and with a number of people here, including, of course, our Secretary General, Mr. The one and only Rovshan Muradov, and Minister Ibrahimov here, also representing that great institution. But the co-sponsor of that is our very own institution, the Library of Alexandria, and I'm very honored that this moment to call on His Excellency Dr. Adel El-Biltagi, who's a professor, doctor, and also in this capacity the chairman of the executive committee of the Board of Trustees of the Library of Alexandria, to please give us a few words at the opening of this event.
Excellencies, dear participant, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of Bibliotheca Alexandrina, I would like to express our appreciation of your presence with us here today in this very important meeting. Welcome to Egypt, the oldest nation state in the world. Bibliotheca Alexandrina is rooted in the history of Egypt and the world, where a free spirit of inquiry flourished. The new Library of Alexandria has become a platform for international cultural dialogue and a meeting point for knowledge and innovation exchange for the benefit of humankind. The library initiates and fosters dialogue between policymakers and prominent scholars in search for new horizons for the well-being of humanity. As the world has been plagued by a tsunami of violence, an urgent need for an in-depth understanding for the root cause and reverting this wave is required. This conference acquires its importance as it deals with democracy as an essential requirement for providing an environment that would enhance freedom and self-expression as necessary vehicle for changing mindset toward embracing life. It seems that terrorism and extremism has been with us, and this sense the story of man on this planet. It can at a time appear extinguished, but it always stays dormant, waiting for an opportune conditions to germinate and spread. Festering injustice, inequality, racial and religious discrimination all act as a catalyst for the spread of violence, extremism. as a result of prevailing injustice, racial discrimination, demeaning of human dignity, radical movement find its way to feed hatred and violence to humankind. Religious teaching and wisdom call for love and peace in all religions, in all basic element of old wisdom. This is a call for love and peace. But alas, this teaching are used by the fanatics to ignite hatred, violence, and conflict. It is a tragedy to link Islam, a religion of mercy and compassion, to veil acts of terrorism. We are presently on this small planet called Earth. The total population is about 7.3 billion people. By year 2050, we will exceed 10 billion inhabitants on this planet. But if we look now, 14% only of this population live in OECD countries, and then what's called the rest live in the rest of the world. We need to look at this because the physical pressure on this planet, as well as the status which we are in, does not really invite us to be relaxed, to see the rupture which could happen between nations, within one nation. And this rupture will come from disparity and inequality in harvesting the resources of this planet. And therefore, socio-political upheaval could happen on this case. What we are striving for and what we are looking for as humans on this planet is what we agreed upon, for instance, in the United Nations for the Sustainable Development Goals, which call for zero hungers and the rest of it, the freedom, and all these aspects cannot be realized if we don't have the state of mind to seek a better future for this earth. If we are stagnant, if we are stubborn not to listen to each other, and not to see that navigating through false perception, not solid perception, will give us a total deception for the future, then this meeting here today is going to shed light to get away from deception to facts and building blocks for a better future. We, the citizens of the world, have to work collectively to have a true and a new world order where all the inflammable elements mentioned above could be uprooted. Striving for a new world where justice prevails and diversity is embraced and human dignity is respected is the way to confront fanatics and extremists worldwide. We need to spread a culture of acceptance of differences and deep understanding of the oneness of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Adel Beltagi. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you see on the program, we have the privilege of a special address by Her Excellency Ambassador Mushira Khattab, Minister of Family and Population in Egypt. She's a world-renowned expert in the fields of development and human rights. She also was a diplomat who served in Eastern Europe and for the Czech and Slovak republics, as well as being Egypt's first ambassador to South Africa. And she served as Secretary General, Egypt's National Council for Childhood and Motherhood. And she's been an activist, not just an official. She has been involved actually in field work at the highest level, and was declared back in 2013 as one of the 5 leading human rights activists in the Middle East. His Excellency President Obasanjo quoted from the opening preamble of UNESCO, and he spoke about the necessity of empowering women. And without knowing what he was going to say, I thought about these things, and therefore I had the privilege of asking Minister Ambassador Mushira Khattab to join us and to give us the benefit of an address, because she is not only a person who has dedicated her life to the empowerment of women, protection of children, led campaigns against female genital mutilation, talked about human rights and actively pursued it, and as I mentioned, was considered one of the most effective people who did all that in the field. But she is also now taking her commitment to these issues to her campaign to become the next Director General of UNESCO. And I'm happy to say that not only is she the Egyptian candidate, she also has benefited from being endorsed by the African Summit as the candidate for that august position, from which I'm sure that she will continue to show the same degree of commitment and dedication that she has shown to these important causes in the past. The fact that this particular conference deals with the issues of democracy and terrorism, human rights of victims of terrorism in all countries, and the importance of democracy, these are very much at the heart of UNESCO's mandate. And thus, I'm glad that Ambassador Minister Mushira Khattab was able to respond to our request and to be with us today to share some thoughts with us. So, please, Ambassador Khattab.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ismail Serageldin, for such a great introduction. Thank you for the invitation to address this esteemed meeting on such an important topic. I'm very sorry, I have a problem with my voice, and I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say on this very, very important subject. Without much introduction, I would like to join the debate at hand, and I see it as one of prevention versus cure. Governments often find themselves in the precarious position of upholding civil rights and freedoms while coming under popular pressure to take preventive measures to curtail violence. Before venturing on an answer that would put me on either side of this thorny debate, I would like really here to echo what His Excellency President Obasanjo talked about when he talked about democracy and security. I would like to add to this that the term democratic security indicates that the decision taken on how to achieve security is taken through a democratic process. It also indicates that it is an interactive process where citizens are consulted and governments are in turn responsive to their views on the definition of security and the vehicles to achieve it. This process is crucial to ensuring popular support for what can often be controversial measures. I also would like here to refer to what His Excellency President Boris Tadic said about the protection of human rights and freedoms, because usually this is at odds. At the outset, we must agree that we are talking about extremism and violence and not terrorism. As our concept paper indicates, terrorism makes a shift. And I would like to underline that fighting terrorists is different than fighting terrorism. Fighting terrorism is only effective through well-thought educational and cultural policies, policies that are both preemptive and curative. Fighting extremism and violence requires a shift to prevention. Prevention is more fundamental, it is more effective, and in terms of cost, more cost-effective. As a candidate of Egypt and the African Union for the position of Director General of UNESCO, I'm very grateful for President Obasanjo for taking us back to the Constitution of UNESCO, which talks about wars, and it says that since wars begin in the minds of men and women, and I add women because the Constitution of UNESCO only talks about men, so I must add women. So since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defense of peace must be constructed. At the time, 20 governments, and I'm proud that my country, Egypt, was one of them, acting on behalf of their people, established UNESCO to contribute to peace and security by promoting collaboration among nations through education, science, and culture in order to further universal respect for justice, science, and for justice, for the rule of law, and for the human rights and fundamental freedoms without distinction to race, sex, language, or religion. UNESCO is the one organization entrusted with the mammoth task of helping people throughout the world respect, tolerate, and work together for the greater good. By learning more about one another, people can learn to trust and therefore respect one another. It is UNESCO that can help global community achieve lasting peace and security. We are living an unprecedented global cultural crisis that is of plague proportions. Syria is a case in point. All of Syria's 6 UNESCO heritage sites have been damaged or destroyed in the civil war. Cities can be rebuilt, but how do you rebuild the ancient city of Palmyra? How do you reconstruct the medieval gates of the old city of Aleppo? How do you undo mortar damage to the old city of Damascus? How do you bring back remains of Roman, Byzantine, and early Islamic periods that were once housed in the city of Basra? How do you punish those who shelled the 12th century Crac de Chevalier fortress? What about the damage done to the parks in the ancient cities in northwest Syria, known as the Dead Cities? Yes, we've seen wars before, but ladies and gentlemen, today's wars have upped the ante as they pose a different kind of threat to global security. Threats that require different, far-reaching solutions that go beyond arms, fortification, and closing borders, or turning away refugees. Today, the invisible power of social media has thrown all the calculations out of whack. And in my opinion, tips the scales in favor of preventive against a radical extremist enemy doctrine that is literally a click of a button away. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, prevention is the only way. Measures that protect the minds, especially of the young ones, are the only tools needed to have a fighting chance against this war. We must join hands to tackle looming problems in many parts of the world, including social oppression and diminishing personal freedoms, both in the public and private spheres. Poverty, which transcends quantitative measures defined by cultural and enlightenment deficiency, which are the realities that leave vulnerable minds open to brainwashing. Our focus must be on building strong minds and strong spirits capable of critical thinking. Again, as President Obasanjo said, scant quality of education is at the core of our problems. It has led to diminishing soft power and detachment for or deprivation from benefiting from means of progress or advancement. Diminishing space for cultural activities, sports and leisure in school curriculum has produced introvert minds torn between fear of others or loathing them. Religious discourse that pushes a culture of death, fear, and living in the past, separated from culture, from current realities. Religious discourse that instigates hate, such as demonizing women and prohibiting forms of artistic expression, among other things. Civic identity is slowly being diluted. Defenders of human rights focus on the more newsworthy political rights at the expense of dwindling cultural rights. We must remember that religion is a victim of culture. We must guard against marginalization and exclusion, be it against females, the poor, disabled, refugees, or internally displaced persons. Marginalization and exclusion are serious forms of violence. Cultural diversity must be perceived as a source of richness. It is at this point that I'd like to talk about climate change and global warming. What does climate change have to do with democratic security? Prevention, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, prevention has been central to the decades-long fight against climate change, and it needs to be central to the newer battle against extremism and violence delivered through social media. We cannot fix the hole in the ozone layer as much as we cannot undo the damage to the Syrian heritage sites. But the global community's fight must be to prevent against further climate change and to prevent against the appeal of extremist doctrines. These problems will continue to grow exponentially and become more complicated unless we prioritize youth. Youth are the most vibrant group of any population. They are the leaders of change. They are the trendsetters. As such, education of youth and other segments of the population is critical. Education is the most effective protection against extremism and violence. Education is a vital and fundamental human right and a basis for guaranteeing the realization of other human rights. It is essential for peace, for tolerance, for human fulfillment, and sustainable development. It is key to achieving full employment and poverty eradication. Access to education is admirably expanded, but access alone does not ensure the enjoyment of the right. We must strive to ensure equitable and inclusive quality education. Education that is not confined to classrooms, but a lifelong learning process for all, in all settings, and at all levels of education. The current refugee crisis is another issue that continues to malign our global community. The events which have triggered the refugee crisis has added these millions of displaced individuals to the long list of marginalized people, yet entitled to exercise their rights fully without any discrimination. While today's problems are far more complicated than they were, say, 20 years ago, we are also better placed to tackle them. Technology, among other things, have given us extraordinary tools, and it is high time we arm ourselves with these weapons to restore cultural rights. We need to ensure that the relevance of UNESCO are today greater than ever. Our challenge lies with our ability to implement its constitution. We must believe in UNESCO, embrace it, empower it, celebrate its great achievements, and build on it. We must also be candid with its challenges. UNESCO needs to avoid politicization, and I would like to refer to what His Excellency President Boris Tadic said about global politics not being very helpful right now. But we must make sure that the reform of UNESCO is part and parcel of the reform of the United Nations. We have a window of opportunity with a new UN Secretary General charting a new path for effective multilateralism with more synergy and closer coordination. This is the time, ladies and gentlemen, when member states are called upon to embrace UNESCO, embrace it and empower it to continue its legacy on the protection of heritage, a legacy that started here in Egypt with the colossal work of saving the Nubia temples. Every day, somewhere in the world, priceless heritage is either destroyed or looted at the hands of extremists. We need UNESCO to inspire humans to be the guardians of heritage. UNESCO's expertise in natural and social science is needed, now more than ever, not just for the benefits of science application in medicine or the likes. Our youth need to believe in science and its advancements as a way of life. Same applies to the protection of our environment. The ICT revolution has made the world a global village. We need to work towards UNESCO to disseminate the benefits of global citizenship. Cultural diversity is an asset, not just as slogans, but as policies and programs that bring people together and assist them to trust and benefit from one another. Such trust is a prerequisite for a culture of peace to prevail. Today's challenges can be overcome using modern tools, and I firmly believe that arming our people with strong, solid education that spans across the domains of UNESCO will enable them to defeat the strongest form of violence that is almost always born out of ignorance and hate. UNESCO is needed now more than ever. It is the one organization that can assist the UN system cope with extremism, violence, and terrorism. And I trust the global community will empower UNESCO to assume this critical role. I thank you for your attention, and I hope you were able to hear me, and I'm sorry because of my voice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Mushira Khattab. Thank you, all our opening panelists. Thank you for having launched us on our way. And now I propose that we take a brief coffee break, stretch our arms. Right behind us, right behind these flags, you will find the coffee break. So you can just help yourself from in there. If you want to bring it back here, you're welcome. It's right there. And we'll reconvene in 15 minutes.
طب اوكي فاين خلصها وتعالى